about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a tech, truth, and transformation. And of course, an author too, and the author of the book, The Solomon Project. No other than Mr. Randy Swank.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome on Book 101 Review, Mr. Randy. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Um, uh, my background is economics. I've retired from business. I worked a while in government, 40 years of experience like that. And it just inspired me to write a book, a fiction that I felt was appropriate. I asked myself a lot of questions about what would be an excellent subject for a book. Friends talked about making a movie, and this ended up being a projected book that would follow the movie. And what it basically amounted to was a situation where I thought if God were to come back to Earth and try to save us from some big problem, what would that big problem be? And he would cause him to break his silence. And that's what started the whole idea of creating a book designed to identify the problems that we have today and how those problems are going to grow in the future. And ultimately, we would need the Solomon Project, which is what I named it in the book, a project to solve our root cause issues. So that's essentially why I've written the book and what the book is essentially about.
Mr. Randy Swank, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. The Solomon Project evokes the biblical King Solomon, known for his wisdom. How these projects in your book seek to emulate or modernize the concept of wisdom. It is about judgment, AI, or moral framework.
I would say judgment and moral framework. Not so much AI, but there is a computer program inside the book called Virtual, and the Virtual is an interface between humans and the computer that makes basically a virtual person exist inside the computer that you just talk to and solve a lot of problems. And so the idea is that um, that is getting a little bit out of control and um, uh, I'm a little bit nervous, my first podcast, but
No worries. No
people
worries at all.
um, what essentially it amounted to was someone identified that um, we're reaching the point where one person can do tremendous damage to the world. For example, we have COVID-19, for example. So you've got somebody working in a lab, he makes one mistake and it can cause a catastrophe that's of global consequence. And computer viruses equally can be very, very dangerous. And as technology progresses, we get closer and closer to the point where any one person, not a government or a political leader, but just an average person, can gain the power to do tremendous damage to the world. And the only thing ultimately that's going to stand between this person doing this terrible thing and it happening is going to be our morality, our sanity, if you will. And one of my characters, Jack Potter, came upon the idea that what we need to do is address all of these minor insanities: alcoholism, drug addiction, behavioral health issues, poor education, um, bad parenting, all of these minor things that seem like they're just part of the world that we live in. Well, these things are sort of adding up to to create problems that, unless we address them in their entirety and spend the money that it's going to require to fix those things, eventually someday the one person is going to have that power to do really tremendous damage. And we have to start designing an entire program around fixing it. And of course, we had the Apollo project. And I was old enough. I'm 62, and so I'm old enough to remember the feeling that after the Apollo project was over, what's next? What are we going to do as a civilization? And there wasn't anything, and it felt kind of strange that there wasn't. Um, so when my character tried to decide, I'm getting a lot of feedback from my, yeah. When my character just tried to decide on a name for this big project, this overhaul of behavioral health, um, he arrived at the idea of using Solomon rather than Apollo.
Very well said, Mr. Randy. Truly, truly inspiring project. Without giving too much away, what is the fundamental project at the heart of the story? Is it a technological breakthrough, a social experiment, or a philosophical endeavor?
I would say a social experiment and a philosophical endeavor. The idea that um, as we reach the point where our behavioral health issues are our number one problem, we've got to invest tremendous amounts of money in order to solve it. There's not really any profit to be made right now. I worked in behavioral health as a finance person for about 8 years. And in that capacity, I got to see uh, how they're curing issues like borderline personality and what's the root cause of a lot of personality issues. And people in my family had issues that you just think, well, I'm going to take them to a psychologist and they'll just fix them right up. Boy, I'll tell you, it is not like that at all. You take them to psychologists, psychiatrists, and treatments, and it's far more miss than hit. A lot of talk therapy is not very effective, and that's very heartbreaking and scary. And from being inside behavioral health, I looked at just what is it that we're spending money on? What kind of treatment? What kind of system do we have? And it's really, I'll probably get in trouble for saying it's very primitive, and it's very Stone Ages compared to like physical health. Physical health, you go in for an appendicitis, they take your appendix out. It's a science, but not the behavioral health system. It is very experimental, and when you consider issues like, well, this latest assassination of a political figure, we all say that guns don't kill people, people kill people, and it's all these behavioral health problems that are contributing to our problems. In 2025, an out of control behavioral health problem is not as serious as it will be in 2055, which is where the setting of my book is. Because at that time, you're going to have a lot more robots, robot weapons, robot police, and basically robotic uh, corporations and manufacturing plants. We could reach the point, I imagine, in my book where if someone were to get fed up enough and developed a computer virus, they could just decide to kill everyone. They could decide to kill everyone because they're crazy and they just don't like people, or they can decide to kill everyone because they feel they're the only good person and everybody else is crazy and evil. So, in the future, our behavioral health issues are going to become far more serious of a problem than they are right now.
Mr. Randy, what contemporary issue or ethical dilemma does the Solomon Project force its characters, and by extension, the reader, to confront?
I think the dangers of technology, the amount of power that can be concentrated into the hands of one person, uh, whether it's a government person, a president, or whether it's just someone that develops a computer virus. or meddles with DNA using CRISPR or one of these gene splicing technologies. Every day, the world just gets more dangerous because these kinds of powers get concentrated down into more fewer random people. And I think that the philosophy is, how do you solve that? And today, I think that we believe that we can create um, endless security to prevent people from hacking into your accounts and hacking, spreading viruses and that sort of thing. But ultimately, what we have to address is, why are these people doing these things? And I think there we find the dilemma being, we should spend money on fixing our education system and fixing our uh, training people how to be better parents. Um, so we need to work on that. And the dilemma that we face is that will be very expensive to do it right. And we it, people are going to make a profit doing it, uh, as well as they make a profit going to Mars, or make a profit building new weapon systems or consumer technology. Uh, but this is vital, and it has to be done by the government. So my book addresses the issue: what happens when somebody does have the ability to wipe out the world, and he stays his hand and watches us to decide whether or not we're worthy of not being destroyed. So um, I don't know if I answered your question exactly.
Yes, indeed, Mr. Randy, you're doing a great job. If the Solomon Project aims to create a perfect objectivity or judgment, what are the potential costs? Does it eliminate essential human elements like compassion, mercy, or context?
Uh, One of the characters in my book, Haid Hilder was her name. She believes that in the absence of the main advocate, the Jack Potter, who's advocating the Solomon Project, while he's in the hospital recovering, she steps to the foreground, and she believes that what the Solomon Project is intended to be is a way to make everybody the same, perfect, sort of like uh, I can't think of the movie right now, but make everybody identical. And she creates a term, or criticism of her ideas are spawn a term called saming. So we're going to same everybody. And Jack Potter, when he is done with convalescing in the hospital, comes out and says, "No, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to same everybody. If you've got a car and it has a flat tire, the flat tire is just not an individual. It's not different. It's flat. It's not functioning. And so we need to identify those parts of our personalities that have problems, but we're not trying to cookie cutter and make everybody the same." If that answers your question, but that's part of the dilemma of creating a project like this.
On the characters and conflict, Mr. Randy, what drives the main character to become involved with or challenge the Solomon Project? Is it idealism, curiosity, or personal stake in the outcome?
I think idealism in the case of both characters. Adam Lawson is the a creator of, well, he creates the virus that can destroy the world. But his foster brother, who has autism, he is very intelligent, Jack Potter. He's the one that stumbles upon the idea of the Solomon Project, that the root cause is that we have to solve all of these everyday crazies, is what he calls it. We have to solve these everyday crazies that will get us out of our dangerous situation where we're moving towards this technological apocalypse. So these two characters are in agreement. Actually, Adam agrees that we need to address this, and Jack says, "Okay, I'll propose the plan to everyone, Immediately, 50% of the population says it's a great idea. Yes, we agree. We need the Solomon Project. The other 50% of the population says, no, I don't want to be samed. I don't want to be put into a cookie cutter machine and fixed. So what Adam decides to do is let me pretend to side with these people. He becomes president of the United States, and he decides to build this wall and says, okay, fine, we're going to take the worst criminals, we're going to save money, and we're going to throw them on the other side of the wall. But he deliberately decides to expand the list a little bit at a time just to watch how long people will go along with this plan before they cry uncle and say, no, this is not the way we should solve our problems by throwing people away. Um, so he has every intention of not really wanting that to be the way the world fixes its problems, but he proposes it just to test mankind and to judge mankind. And keep in mind that he has the power to destroy mankind with his computer virus. So I don't think I'm giving away too much. That's all uh, pretty early on in the book, but they work together. But ultimately, Adam has his own personal problems, his own issues. Well, we're not really quite sure if he's sane or not sane. So I think it's ideological. Um, that's fundamentally what is driving the story and the conflict.
Mr. Brandy as Attack, Truth, and Transformation, an author. What are your short term and long term goals?
Personally, I want to continue to expand on this story and try to engage people on the ideas that are presented in this book. Um, I think next will be the discussion about what happens to the people on the other side of the wall when they're over there and the more people added to that side of the wall. Sort of an apocalyptic environment uh, juxtaposed with what's going on this side of the wall. And the book mostly addresses what goes on this side of the wall, but I think a real study of human conditioning will be the discussion about what happens on the other side of the wall.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Randy, and looking forward for more success and for sure more books to come. What would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an author like you?
Take the time to really perfect your book and get editors involved, because editors will maybe chime in and tell you what it is that is working, what isn't working. You have too many themes in your book, you have too many characters, or what have you. You need to. Uh, they say every book is a form of autobiography. Talk about what's happening in your life. Try not to be too derivative in the sense that the only life experience you're drawing on is what you read in books or watch on television. So have a lot of life experience. The advice that I followed of my own is wait until you're old enough and have lots and lots of life experience that you can draw on that rather than draw on uh, other works of fiction and books. So have a lot of life experience, get editors to help you review what you've written and give you the confidence to do all the things that it's going to take to promote your book later on, because there's a lot of steps after the book is written and edited that are going to make you feel like you want to give up. So you have to have confidence. So you need to find ways to build your confidence.
Confidence indeed. And thank you for that advice, Mr. Randy. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Um, that was an interesting part of your preparation to let me know that you wanted to know about books. The Lord of the Rings and Frankenstein, I guess maybe two unusual choices, but Frankenstein is very interesting in the sense that it's a behavioral health book, because it talks about a monster that's created. He's abandoned by his creator, and that's what turns him into a monster. is that abandonment issue. And of course, the Lord of the Rings discusses ultimate power in the hands of one individual, and if that's a good thing or a bad thing for a world. So I think those are two influential books.
Thank you for the recommended books, Mr. Randy. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101 Love Letters in fourth season, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 each in fourth season too, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Randy, why is the theme of this book particularly urgent or relevant for readers right now? What is specific moment in technological and social history?
I would say that if we don't start working on the behavioral health problems as our number one issue, by the time 2055 rolls around, which is the year the setting of my book is taking place, it's really going to be too late. The technology is going to be advancing. Um, we have a lot of things going on right now that put a lot of power in the hands of very few people, and it's getting more dangerous. The world's getting more dangerous with computer viruses and splicing DNA and all that sort of thing. And we need to get ahead of it. And we need to, right now, start thinking about um, improving our education system, parenting, identifying ways to solve problems with chemicals. Chemicals are a very big problem. Uh, I won't mention any by name. I don't get any trouble, but there are chemicals in our food and medications and fertilizers and that sort of thing that ultimately has been proven have an impact on behavioral health. So we've got to take it more serious, and the time to do it is now. It'll be too late in 20 years when someone can create a computer virus to do all sorts of terrible things.
Yes, indeed. Now, and Mr. Randy Swank, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support the Solomon Project?
Yeah, please go to Amazon and buy the Solomon Project. And after you've read it, go ahead and rate it on Amazon and let everybody know that you liked it. I hope.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Randy Swank because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering projects to come. So, Mr. Randy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.